Hi everybody, my name is Soyeon Kate Lee and my husband Dank will be joining me here soon. But we wanted to welcome you to our home in Cincinnati. Right now it's midnight and our two kids, they're 2 and 6, are upstairs sleeping. We finally got them to sleep and this was the only time we had without interruption. So thus, it's the COVID times, right? Babysitters are hard to come by. So we're really happy that we can connect with all of you. And although we're very sad not to have been there physically at the Great Lakes Festival, we're very much looking forward to seeing all of you in the near future. So in keeping with our theme of the festival, Visions and Revisions, we have a program of reimagined pieces. So I will begin this evening's program by playing a work that Busoni transcribed. It's a transcription of Bach's Partita No. 2, the concluding movement of the work, which is the Chaconne. It is this monumental, profoundly moving, epic work that Brahms also adored. He wrote a left-hand transcription for that as well. And Busoni takes this work for violin and really reimagines it, taking, all the colors. Technically, it's riveting, and I think if you have the concept of the violin piece in your head, I want you to try to set that aside and really go with me on this reimagined journey that Busoni takes us through. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Next on our musical journey is another piece that is related to Busoni. This is originally a transcription by Fantasia, more than a transcription by Liszt. Originally he conceived it as a transcription that would be over themes by both the opera Don Giovanni and the Marriage of Figaro. It's a very ambitious piece that he left unfinished. Busoni later took this piece. He actually only transcribed the Figaro part of it and completed it. There is another complete edition of this done by the pianist Leslie Howard. It's a much longer piece than this. This is a concise piece, and I think I like it exactly for that reason. It gives you all the spark from the Marriage of Figaro. It's relatively less bombastic, I would say, than some of the other Liszt transcriptions, but filled with kind of virtuoso fireworks and a lot of lyricism and beauty. So I hope you enjoy it.
The next and final work on our program is another reimagined piece by Barber, the American composer. He originally conceived this for the ballet, and since then it has taken the form of orchestral suite and also as a solo work for piano. So it's a set of 6 dances, and we will be playing for you 4 of them in this order: the Hesitation Tango, the Two-Step, Pas de deux, and the Galop.
Yeah, and the two-step will be making a little switcheroo in between us, so you'll notice that. We thought this was very much on brand with Barber's thinking and kind of whimsical writing in the suite.
And you'll get to see him here, which will also be very nice.
Very good.
So we hope you're all safe, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you. That was just amazing. Absolutely stunning. Thank you so much, Ron and Kate, for just wow. I'm so stunned by your artistry. It was from your living room to us. You know, I just on a very personal note, and I'm sure a lot of musicians and other people feel the same. It's not been easy for me to connect with music during this pandemic, but what you both did from the Bach all the way through was extraordinarily touching, and it came through to us just really touched my heart. Thank you very very much indeed. We're so grateful. Just wonderful. Tell me before we start taking questions, when did you record that, and how long did it take?
Oh, well, it was.
Maybe it was 4 or 5 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was, as you know, it's been very difficult to have any childcare help during these times. So our only option was to record when they were asleep, and so we put them to sleep at 8:30. And
We have two of them.
we have two of them.
Yes.
One is a lot easier right now, but the 2-year-old, she refuses to go to sleep at night. So we waited until about 10, and then we started setting up, got ready. And then by the time we started recording, it was really around midnight. And we did it in one go pretty much because we didn't want to, actually it was a funny story. I took one more take, the one before, but at the end of the piece, the door rang and it was a pizza delivery.
This is not good.
Midnight. I couldn't believe it. Ding dong. It just at the very last page. And oh, sorry, I have the wrong address. And so we had to do
You
it.
actually, I have this in the original footage. It's quite amazing. It's not a joke. Somebody actually came. I don't know what they were thinking, but they just rang their doorbell. And I at first thought, oh no, somebody's calling the police, you know, because it's too late and we're playing. Nobody could actually hear it outside because it's usually very quiet.
That's wonderful.
And then it was a pizza delivery guy, and he kept saying, oh, I told him, you're in the wrong place. Please go. We're recording now. And he kept saying, well, do you know where 601 is? I just couldn't get him to go.
So that's the retake we had to do, and then
that was the end of the Bach Chaconne. Bach never intended for it to have ended that way.
Well, it certainly worked. I mean, there's something. Maybe I'm thinking about a pizza Busoni now. That might give you.
There we go.
All I know is that it would have a lot of toppings on it. A huge number of toppings. It was so wonderful. I mean, Kate, you managed to make the piano sound like a cathedral. It really sounded like you were in a cathedral. It was there's something about that chaconne that takes one through, you know, an incredibly big space. And then Ron, when you came to the Liszt, suddenly it was crisp and playful and intimate. And then who knew that the Barber was so much like Poulenc? Which came first? But Poulenc, sort of forehand stuff. Do you think he was influenced?
Poulenc was first. Yeah.
Poulenc would be first. So he was in a French mood, I think. Yeah. But anyway, look, it's marvelous. I want to get to the questions because I know we've got quite a few lined up. I feel like a flight attendant now, extending a special welcome to our Premier Club members. I'd like to extend a very special welcome to the Friends of Four Hands, who are turning 40, I think, next year. This is a wonderful organisation that supports Four Hands piano music, funnily enough, and several of your members are here, and we want to welcome you and thank you very much for joining us in this virtual vignette. I would also like to thank, and I'm not going to scroll through now because it'll take me too long, because I think we've got about 60 people on the call, but James Toko, who's here, who I know you both have very fond relationships with, and so do I. And without James Toko, and indeed Moriokan, we wouldn't be sitting here in front of our computers tonight. We wouldn't be still continuing to celebrate this wonderful festival. So thank you, James, for sponsoring this vignette, and thank you for so much more, for everything that you've done for music in the Great Lakes area, in the country, and in the world as a whole. Thank you so much. And I wonder if you might even say something at some point during the evening to us. I don't know. I'd also like to thank Maurice and Linda Binko and Jerry and Corliss Rosenberg, who've been the generous and wonderful sponsors of the whole series. So thank you very much to you too. So without further ado, let's go to the first question, which is going to be
Franziska Schoenfeld.
Well, my piano partner, Ruth Weingarten, and I, she's also a member of Four Hands, we've been playing duets for years. And we often we even often discuss, how do you start together? What signal do you use? And then during the piece, who is the lead? Does the lead change during the piece? And then my other question is, who pedals? Do you have a routine pedal person, or do you switch?
Okay, yes. No, these are good questions. I think about cues and how to begin, I think it's usually a breath that is taken together kind of collectively, that signals when we're going to come in. There is also a question of hand gesture a little bit. So, I mean, just like a conductor, a certain lift of the hands and then a predictable one that would go down would be an indicator of how to come in together. It's something, of course, that we practice, and something that, you know, having done this for a while now, we kind of know each other, and one gets better at it all the time. About who leads, now that's a very interesting question. That really is, I think we really kind of follow each other. I wouldn't say there is a particular person who leads all the time, but obviously the person who has the melody usually is the one with the most flexibility in terms built into the part, and the other person needs to kind of go along with it, although we usually kind of breathe music in a similar way when we've practiced a piece together.
The pedal issue, it's a little bit more complicated now that we've changed over to using the iPad. Before that, usually the person who has the bass, because of all the harmonic changes, it's customary that the bass pedals. But now, when I'm on the bass, I've got a lot to do because I've got the iPad pedal. I have to turn the pages for that. So we've been taking turns doing that. So we don't really have a set recipe for who pedals. It really depends on which one has a very ornate page turn part, because that can be challenging, and who might have a free hand, who can just sort of tap on the iPad. So it really depends on the piece for us now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
The next question was from Roberta Brown. Are you able to ask? Where is she?
Yes. Yes. As a piano duo, what are some undiscovered gems that you have found in your exploration of the two-hand, four-hand literature?
Yeah, well, there are many transcriptions of pieces done by the actual composers. There are usually a good place to begin. There are transcriptions by Brahms of his own symphonies. There is a transcription by Mendelssohn of his own octet, which I believe Mr. Watkins is familiar with. I don't know if he's familiar with the transcription, but definitely familiar with the original. It's interesting because a lot of these pieces were originally or kind of concurrently conceived at the piano. So if you're looking at something like The Rite of Spring, it's just as much conceived at the piano as it is for the orchestra. And that means you're not really even playing a transcription. You're actually playing very much the original in many ways, and which is a very rewarding way of looking at it. Somebody like Brahms, as I mentioned before, was very famous for kind of having no particular medium always in mind and really kind of trying out different things. So sometimes a concerto would show up as ensemble piece, and then the piano piece, and all these kind of different permutations of it. So you're really not playing, once again, a transcription necessarily. You're really looking at the original. So these are very, very interesting, I think, for me.
And very much being part of the creative process.
Yeah.
Something occurred to me as Ron was talking about the way that composers conceive pieces, sometimes not in the way that I think I knew that, but I'd forgotten. It kind of reminded me when you said that Stravinsky, conceived the Rite of Spring at the piano, and so many composers do compose at the keyboard. It really made me think that so kindly you incorporated my rather vague visions and revisions title into everything that you did, and you've now explained it even more. I was talking to my brother, who's a pianist and a composer, just the other day, and he'd been invited to, with his composing hat on, to read a PhD thesis of someone at King's College London, I think, who even today was talking about the need and the desirability of people to write either two or four-hand piano transcriptions of contemporary music, the most up-to-date things that are coming out. And I wonder if you're aware of anything. Is that happening, here and now with some of, with living composers, for example?
I wish it did. It doesn't so much. It seems like instrumentation has taken such a turn. Such a turn in the 20th and 21st century that composers are conceiving things less at the piano, I would say, than in the 19th century and the early 20th century. I mean, we mentioned the Rite of Spring. I don't know how many of people are listening to this are familiar with that fact, but it actually got its first original premiere just at the first part of it was premiered at the piano with the composer and his good friend Claude Debussy
Ah, yes.
playing it. So that was the original outing of this piece. And it's just, these pieces also sounded fantastic on the piano. I mean, even if you take composers who did not originally conceive so much things at the piano or were not associated with piano, like Wagner, when you just sit there and you play transcriptions of Wagner, even the operas, it sounds fabulous because of the harmonic world. There's all of these 9th and 13th chords, right? It sounds like you're playing almost early jazz in some senses at the piano. So it's very much a boon to have.
Well, I'm just going to throw that out there for the friends of Four Hands and anybody else who's interested, that maybe young composers today could be encouraged to take up the challenge of transcribing, goodness me, I don't know, Andrew Norman, John Adams, Pierre Boulez, Thomas Addis, Oliver Nussin. I think that could expand the Four Hands and two piano repertoire tremendously. So if anybody has any ideas, do let us know, and we'll premiere it at the Great Lakes Festival. So the next question.
Next question. There were two questions from Jill Stone. Jill.
Hello, Jill. I can see you.
Hear me?
Oh, there she is.
Can you hear me? Okay, it was terrific. We would love to invite you in to play for Friends of Four Hands when this is all over, this COVID. So as Paul mentioned, we are an almost 40-year-old group with 70 members. And we want to know, are we unique? Do you know of any other groups such as ours that exist throughout the country, throughout the world? I do a little research online and I can't find it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but we want to know if we are unique.
I actually don't know of any other groups. So from my knowledge, yes, you are unique. And I'm so glad to know of this group.
Yes.
I think it's really wonderful. And, yes, despite the times, I think that, for us, we've been we've been together now for several months. Mm-hmm. And it's, even though we do, because of our kids, we do a lot of practicing by ourselves. We've had to put a few concerts together, and concerts like this where we've had to play together again and have to have reasons to do so. It brings a different dimension to our life. And I think we need it more than ever. And so I applaud you for your anniversary and think it's wonderful.
Well, maybe we can do something with Great Lakes combination with Friends of Four Hands. That would be a good marriage, I think. I also want to know about your group in New York. Tell us about that. It's called
Music
by the Glass. What is? Tell us about that.
It's a series that's held in a boutique art gallery in Soho, and we conceived it because we felt like we need to not only bring people of our generation to love classical music, but also to support it. And so we started this series over dinner, really, and we thought, we can hark back to the golden age of the piano, and golden age of music, really, where we didn't have to play complete works. We can just take a little movements, just like wine by the glass. You don't have to try a whole glass of wine. So we sort of took our inspiration of the title from They're Very Nice, Paul and Jennifer. And so we kind of, we match the music as much as we can with the wine. We have an amazing board of young professionals from New York City who bring all their friends and their colleagues. So it's a really fun group. We've even had several marriages come out of there, people getting together. And we also have a really supportive group of donors who continue to really see this vision. So it's exciting.
And one last question. Where did you two meet?
Well, at Juilliard, really. But we were not there at the same time. I was taking lessons after I graduated, and I would come. Bob McDonald, our teacher, would fit me in at the end. And several times I came and he was finishing his lesson, and for some reason he always had red socks. And I was listening from the couch, and I thought, wow, he pedals really well. I just remember, because there's a whole art to pedaling. And a lot of people, when they try to play soft, they just put the una corda. And I noticed right away that he didn't do that. And I was just sort of watching his feet all the time and falling in love with his socks, I guess.
She immediately thought I would pedal well when we played forehand.
Forehand, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's what it was all about.
That's great.
It seems to me that the romantic nature of the questioning now is leading on nicely to a question we have from Sandy Reitelman, I think. Sandy, if you're there, would you like to put your question?
Yes, I would. My question is this. In listening to the Barber, I really felt as if I was hearing music that was coming from one soul. And I don't mean Barber's soul. The question is, to what extent do you think that your personal relationship impacts on your ability to play so together? I mean, I don't know a better word than that, but.
It probably does quite a bit, I think. But I think it's mostly the fact that we understand each other's musical language so well. We spend a lot of time hashing through music and figuring out music. So I think we come up with many solutions to problems and ideas in a unified way. It's almost like we are one think tank about music a little bit. So I think then when we come to play music together, there is a more unified sound coming out of the piano because we have the same conception in many ways. It does not say that we always agree about what we're going to do at all. But I think the overall approach to music making and the fact that we're very familiar with each other's playing is really going to contribute to the fact that we're going to be able to play well together. So, does that answer the question?
It does, and absolutely, we appreciated so much listening to you play together and individually as well. So that leads to my next question, which is maybe more of a comment that I'll ask you, Ron, to comment on my comment. As I listened to the Figaro Liszt piece, to me it was so clear how predominant the themes were, despite the fireworks, the virtuosic writing, the virtuosic playing. Can you just comment on that in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah. So a comment on a comment, a meta comment.
Yes.
Okay. So my meta comment is, I think in general, Liszt is very aware of what the audience is waiting to hear. It's easy for us to forget this was, of course, written in the 19th century when everybody would know all the themes from these operas, at least anybody who would actually hear this. And I think he plays around with this. In this transcription, I agree. There is definitely a predominance, as you said, of the thematic material. And I think he kind of does it in a very beautiful way. There is a whole section, the whole middle section, which really is devoted to these kind of gentle, almost variations of the thematic material, which I really appreciate. It doesn't change immediately into fireworks. In some ways, it also has a structure that is a little similar to a Hungarian Rhapsody, with a slow first half, almost with all of these kind of ornamentations, and then a second half that is the more, of course, the presto material. So I think it's something that would be very common for works of Liszt, to have the thematic material being presented in a very clear way. But I think there is something particular about this this transcription, which I agree with you that it puts it at the forefront, probably even more.
Great, thank you. I think just before we wind up, I wanted to ask you both, Kate and Ron, what upcoming, I know everybody's plans are affected in a very uncertain way at the moment, but what have you been doing, and what are you planning to do for the rest of the year? I'm actually interested how much generally, in a normal year, how much of your playing is devoted to solo, to teaching, to four hands and two pianos. How do you divide that up?
Oh, with a lot of effort, we've been trying to divide things up. As you know, we were bracing ourselves for one of our busiest summers, and here we are. But actually it's been very busy in other ways, just trying to maintain a household. But we've lost so much of the Beethoven year, and of course everybody had something planned. So what we're working on specifically for the Library of Congress, but we had plans to do it in other places as well, this fall, is a virtual presentation of the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony transcribed by Liszt for two pianos. It's the
great.
full symphony, and it's really spectacular. I mean, and we will precede that by a Liszt transcription of the preludes. So that is our huge
That's wonderful
Beethoven project. And a lot of the orchestras, of course, are now opting to scale down and maybe offer some either chamber concerti or concerti that could be done with possibly a string quartet or a much smaller group. So it's looking like we will be doing more Mozart and Chopin concerti this season. And things are in flux, but the wonderful thing, as you know, about what we do is there is always so much music to learn and to immerse ourselves in. So yeah, day by day.
Good. Well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for what you've done for us. And we will definitely tell all of our festival friends. Let us know about the Beethoven project, because that sounds really exciting, and I'm sure lots of us will want to tune in to that. And we hope that we'll be able to meet in person again very, very soon. So thank you so much for that. That was a truly wonderful program that you put together for us, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you very, very much indeed. Maybe we could do a virtual round of applause for everybody who's looking.
Thank you for your entire team.
Yes, the whole crew.
Thank you. So before we sign off, I want to thank all of the benefactors and sponsors that we have for making possible not just these virtual vignettes, but a number of festival activities this summer. We are very, very excited to announce the virtual Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival, which will take place between August the 26th and the 30th, with 8 performances over 5 days. There'll be 3 evening concerts, broadcast at 7 p.m. Wednesday to Friday, 4 Schaus ensemble broadcasts at 11 a.m. Wednesday to Saturday. Great with your own, and you can make your own coffee this time for the Schaus events, and have exactly what you want to eat with it, as many cookies as you want. Nobody will be looking. A final concert on Sunday at 1 p.m. plus an outdoor live presentation of an amazing piece by the American composer John Luther Adams called Sealer, which will be performed by the Detroit Chamber Winds and Strings. So there'll be more program details announced later this week, but I'm already getting very, very excited and particularly inspired by what I've just heard from Ron and Kate. I've got to go practice, in fact. We will be recording in New York with Christine Gerke, with the Brentano Quartet, with Tessa Lark, Michael Thurber, Cindy Wu, and I'll be there as well if I can get my fingers back into shape. We've got some wonderful things coming up. I'm not going to tell you everything now, but can you imagine Respighi's Il Tramonto with Christine Gerke and the Brentano Quartet? Tessa Lark and her partner Michael Thurber playing more bluegrass for us. Just wonderful things coming up. Some of them linked still desperately linked to my Visions and Revisions theme. And you'll be hearing more of that later this week. I would like to thank you all so much for brightening our COVID summer with your presence. Thank you to all the artists, and thank you particularly again to Kate and Ron tonight for such a wonderful evening. Thank you so much, and we will see each other again soon, probably virtually, but eventually in person again.